Marcus Speaks. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Marcus Speaks. I'm your host, Marcus. As you can see, I'm operating on dual cameras, and I just want to say sorry for the hiatus. I have been not making any videos, possibly for the past month or so, month and a week now. I just want to say, thank you for tuning in, and I hope that this podcast episode is, fulfilling for you guys to listen to. So, as you guys know, that over the recent weeks, we've been experiencing protests and civil unrest and stuff like that of that nature. So, what I want to talk about today is it's like a mixed bag of things, but the main thing I want to bring up is number one, the officer Christopher Dorner. Number two will be the protests, the riots, and the looting. And let's make number three a surprise. So, number one, Christopher Dorner. So, as we know, Christopher Dorner, or if you guys don't know who Christopher Dorner was a LAPD cop, police officer, or what have you. He served in the military. I believe it was the Navy of the United States. And through his years of serving the nation and stuff like that, he then became a cop for the LAPD. So he was he was a guy that didn't really take too well to mistreatment of people, such civilians that goes on in the country. So I'll give y'all the last part of who he was before he died, and then I'll give you the beginning of why he did what he did, or no, of the reasoning of what he did. So basically, I'm putting the end first, and then I'm putting the beginning last. That's basically what I'm doing. So Christopher Dorner, he killed some cops and some of their family members, and he wrote a I would say a memoir, or what would it be called really? Yeah, like a suicide letter, so to speak, but not really a suicide letter. I'm forgetting the word for it. So the reason why he was doing this is because a police officer that I'm guessing he was on patrol with, or a police officer that he was partnered with or called in, he that police officer, and let me find the name right now. So, the name of the officer was come on, man. Officer uh, Teresa Evans. So, Officer Teresa Evans kicked a mentally disabled man 3 times while he was handcuffed. So, during this time, man was handcuffed. Then she proceeded to use um, more force than what was needed, because he was already apprehended. And he filed a complaint. So, during his time of filing a complaint, they fired him. Christopher Dorner wrote the complaint as clear as possible, and as uh, like he put every point down of what happened at each time and everything. But his colleagues let him go. So during this time, he's gone through process after process with the BOR, which is the board of board of the Board of Rights, Department for Decisions in Continued Employment. Um, so basically, if they get put on leave for some sort of action, such as lethal force or such like that, they have to be put on leave for a while, go through the whole process of the Board of Rights hearing to see if they'll continue being an officer or if they'll get fired and let go. So while this was happening, they let him go. So he went for an appeal in court. There was video evidence of the man saying, Mr. Mr. Christopher Gettler, he basically told in video evidence that yes, Teresa Evans or Officer Evans did kick me 3 times, twice in the chest, once in the head. But the department of the LAPD basically covered for Evans, and then she's doing administration, or she's a sergeant now, or while he was writing, when he wrote this, I think she became she was a sergeant at the time. She could be more. She could be either an administrator or something like that within the LAPD. Who knows? So he gets let go, and he basically writes what he's going to do. He's going to wage asymmetrical war on the police department that let him go. And some may think, well, that's crazy. What the hell is he thinking? He'll die. He knew that he could get away with his first part of his plan, which was killing officers, killing family members of said officers, and whatever. The second part of his plan, he knew he was going to die, because as we know, with all police officers, when one of theirs die, Basically, the whole police force goes after the suspect, and pow, 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 someone dies. So, with that being said, the beginning part of the story, like I said, Christopher Dorner uh, was in the military. He um, was in I think the Marines, or if not the Navy. It was one of the two he was in. So basically, Chris has seen uh, combat in his lifetime. He's no stranger around an assault rifle and a sidearm. So in his memorandum, he basically states that I have this weapon and I have that weapon. I have silencers and I have, all kinds of military grade weapons of which civilians can't get a hand on unless they know some way around the law where they can get them legally. Now, I say this. I am a black man. And George Floyd, Ahmad Arbery, Eric Gardner, Michael Brown, so on and so forth, of killings that has happened in this country basically go go undone. There's no justice for said people. You might get some arrests of officers, or in Ahmad Arbery and Trayvon Martin's case, they either don't get caught, or they do get caught, or they get let off of all their charges, which I see as basically it's pitiful that that our justice system doesn't see people in this country of African descent as nothing but a punching bag, something that they can kill at any time. I remember when I was watching a certain black psychologist. His name is Dr. Umar Johnson. Y'all heard me talk about him a couple times on my channel. He has said within his speeches that after the war is done, after America is finished with trying to take over, in which they have, of the Middle East, and they have conquered other countries, you can say, not in the mindset of them conquering, basically taking over, such as like uh, Egypt and stuff like that, of when their leader had died and they set, him to the streets and killed him out in the open, hung him, stabbed him, stuff like that. Then America intervened to then help them trying to build a democracy in their country. So, as we all know, they have a democracy in Egypt now. They're also trying to do the same, or they have done the same, with certain Middle Eastern countries, of which Al Qaeda and the Taliban was in. So Dr. Umar Johnson states that after the war is done there, they will then bring it home, and then the black man and woman will be the primary targets of said war. And we've been seeing this. We've been seeing this a lot. We've been seeing countless black man and woman killed at the hands of this country's police. So, with that being said, with the whole George Floyd situation, I heard somebody say in a recent protest that this is the second half of Reconstruction. People who don't know what Reconstruction is, it's the time when after slavery was done and most of the enslaved men and women, Africans as you can see, African Americans or so, that were slaves at the time, branched off and went to different cities and states and stuff like that, such as some stayed in Maryland, some arrived into Maryland, into Baltimore, some went to New York, some went to Philly, some went to Los Angeles, that was being built up at the time, and Chicago, Detroit, so on and so forth. So after this, there was a little small city that was black owned and black, you know, uh, you know, it had black businesses, black churches, all kinds of things. Well, this was the time that the U.S. thought that they should step in and kill these people because what's the point of black people having their own and they're not buying from us? We're not making any money from them, so we have to take out something that they own so we can have our way and have them purchase from us. Thus, riots set the town ablaze, and they killed some of the townspeople in Tulsa, and then no more Tulsa, Oklahoma, no more Black Wall Street. So then, let me take y'all back, which is probably around the same time, if not a few years before. We have Rosewood, Florida. Rosewood, Florida was neighbored by a white town right next door, probably like at least a mile away from Rosewood. If y'all haven't seen the movie, the same thing happened within the movie. White woman lies and says that a black man raped her. He was big and black, as you saw the actor say. And they set that town ablaze, killing everybody except for a few in the town, and no more Rosewood, Florida. Which is a damn shame that shit like this is happening. So then we go to the Civil Rights Movement. How does it all start? Two things happen. We have a woman that's getting off of work. She goes to sit down on the bus, and a white man wants her seat, tells her, nigger, get up. She doesn't get up because she's tired. She doesn't want to take more time out of her day to find another comfortable spot in the back of the bus where white people thought that we belonged, and we, violent. She gets arrested. Martin Luther King gets called, but the catalyst to that whole movement was a little 12-year-old Chicago boy goes to his family's home in the South. He's never been without his mother. Probably was born in down south. I'm pretty sure it was either Georgia, if not Alabama. Legend says that he whistled at a white woman, which was not true because years later, on her dying bed, she states, "What happened to Emmett Till did not, and what I said did not happen." So thus she dies, and then we hear no more from it. There's no type of acknowledgement from any sort of president or secretary of state or any type of congressman or governor. Nothing happens. So he whistles at said white woman. He whistles at said white woman. And a mob of white men find him, drag him out of his family's home, takes him down to the river, and beat his ass to death. To death. So that sparks the catalyst, because not only did we hit the back then did they hear that a young boy that wasn't from that town was beaten to death. His mother said, and it was on the news then, that she would have an open casket so people can see what those people did to my son. Praise that soldier. Praise his mother. Because now we get into the 1990s. Late 80s, 1990s. White man is sitting on the balcony of his hotel room. Sees a commotion happening off past the trees. He sees bright lights. A black man standing outside of his car. Then there's probably 5, 6, maybe 7 police officers beating his ass. His name was Rodney King. He died in 2006. He was beaten because they thought he was on PCP. They beat his ass because they thought he was speeding. They beat his ass because he was black. Thus, word gets out. It's on the news. Very first time this ever happens, that we see as American people a person, and we're not going to put color into this. We see a person on TV getting beat to the ground on American television news. It's never happened before until then, 1991. So, a year later happens, the trial starts, and then we find out that every police officer gets off. It's strange, right? Every police officer that was seen on that videotape gets off on all charges. Now, some people may say, well, Marcus, that's not strange. The video wasn't enough evidence. They had to give their word of what happened. And then Rodney King gave his spiel of what happened. They collected all the evidence, came up with a case to see what will work, and then that's what happened within their favor. That's not what happened. Because if a man had his hand, well, from what I know from certain LA people that I follow either on social media or on YouTube, it's basically common procedure that when the cops pull you over in LA, they tell you to put your hands outside of your window until they approach. Then, if they suspect you of anything, they tell you to get out the car slowly, lay your ass on the ground with your legs and your hands or your arms spread. What country we live in. So they get off. The late great John Singleton shows up at the courthouse. Crazy thing about this courthouse, it's not in the county that the incident happened. They did it in, what was it, Orange County of LA, of California. The incident happened in LA County, not Orange County. So, if you guys have ever read up on certain things, watched certain documentaries, watched the TV show OJ versus the People, same scenario happens. So LA gets set ablaze from riots and civil unrest. First time, well, that was the third time that LA had burned. Second time LA burned, it was the Watts riots, and that was something to behold if you ever seen that footage. Okay, so we fast forward. Nothing too spectacular happens the rest of the 90s other than the year 2000. So we reach 2003. A man's hanging out with his friends the day before his wedding, along with he's with his homeboys. He's about to get married. They giving him his last hoorah until he gets married. So cops pull up on him. About, I don't know how many cops there was, but we do know that he was shot dead by those cops. He had 41 bullets that entered his body. That shit is crazy. All right, rest of the 2000s happen. Obama gets elected as president in 2008. So then we run across another incident that happens. A man standing outside of a store in Staten Island. He's selling loose cigarettes. Just if somebody wants a cigarette. He's selling loosies, as certain people may call them. Somehow cops get a call. They come to the storefront, and argument ensues with said officers, and a man gets choked to death. Which, in the state of New York, that chokehold was deemed illegal in the mid to late 80s. The person that I'm talking about is Eric Gardner. All right, so we see on the news in St. Louis, Missouri, a black kid at the age of 18. At the time when that happened, I was 25, 26. So I knew what it was to be 18, especially when you just graduating high school. You got your friends there with you. You're trying to do the best you can, try to find a job, either if you want to work during that summer or if you just want to chill out until you go to college. I know all the emotions. That cop that shot Mike Brown, he was taken off from leave, or I mean, he was He was relieved from duty indefinitely. He's now working at another police department as we speak. And when this happened, the people that supported what he did gave him damn near, was it a $500,000 he got, if not $1,000,000, for relief and help of him, taking care of bills and so on and so forth. Then there's a little kid in Ohio. He's playing with a toy gun, just like any kid does when he's young. Plays with a toy gun, playing either cowboys and Indians, or if not, make believe, thinking that he's a police officer running down bad guys. Tamir Rice was 12. His 13th birthday was a week from the day he got shot, or if not a month away from when he got shot. The cop showed no remorse. He showed no type of, when he got there, of trying to control the situation, to try to talk to young Tamir. He just shot him in cold blood. Because he said he got a report that there was a man in that neighborhood waving a fucking gun around. So your first thing that you do is that instead of you using your training to observe to see what happens, you go in guns blazing. Let me rewind because I missed one. Natasha Harlan. She's in a store. This happened in the 90s. This is right around the time of the whole Rodney King beating and verdict, like right in between those times, right in between. Natasha Harlan's stopping at a local corner store to get some orange juice because she wants to drink it, if not save it until she gets home or to school while she's walking to school. Something happens within the corner store, the Korean store owner, then shoots Natasha Harlan in the back of the head. She was the catalyst. She was the tipping point other than the verdict of Rodney King. Now, I would say that black people in America found relief for a short while when OJ got off on murder charges. But this country showed who they were. White people on one side saying yes, he did it. Black people on another side saying no, he didn't do it. We don't know what the fuck happens other than OJ, Nicole, her friend, and God. These are the four people that know what happened that night. Now, I would say I'm not taking up for OJ, but this right motherfucker has done some crazy shit within his lifetime and has said some crazy shit about that situation. So I'm not taking up for OJ. I'm just saying within the time that it happened, us as black people found relief for a short while from his verdict because we found as though that there was no other choice for what we should do other than to protect and uplift O.J. Simpson. So let's fast forward back. So countless killings in the 2010s of black people. Countless killings. We have Sandra Bland, we got Philando Castile, we have, you name them. There's a lot of people to fucking name. Now we thinking that, by us going out and protesting that time, that it would spark some type of governmental reform and how police do their jobs and how they can further to try to handle each situation when it comes to them, when it deals with certain things like this. But then we get to, and let me think of the brother's name first. We get to Botham John. The police officer that killed him, and her name is blanking me right now. She gets to the to her apartment complex of where not one but two people within this story has died. We get to her coming home from a day of work, and she enters the wrong house. With said action, she then pulls out her service pistol and shoots Botham John 5 times. Or was it 3 times? But it doesn't matter. The man's dead. So then we go through trial and we meet his neighbor. The guy was a entrepreneur, and he was also the neighbor of Botham John. Now you may say, "Well, Marcus, why are you bringing up his neighbor? He had nothing to do with his killing, nor was he killed by police. He was killed a week later after the case was done. By said he had a bad drug deal, and he got shot and dead by two men that were apprehended from Louisiana." Now, you may say I'm making up speculation. I'm being too conspiratorial with what I'm thinking, but doesn't it sound odd that a man that testified against a cop dies a week after the guilty verdict goes up on her and she goes to jail? And that whole fiasco that happened within the trial, we'll not talk about, because that was silly, that was pointless, and it was disgusting. So my man dies. Okay, so that's 2019. Some time goes by, we don't really hear too much of anything like this happening, but from what I do know, it's probably still happening. I want to pause this story real quick, because I want to bring this up. 2015, a man's riding down the road, he gets pulled over. The cop that pulls this man over is new on the job. He's a rookie cop. He doesn't really have too much experience of how to deal with certain situations. It's fine though, because everybody makes mistakes when they're out on the job. But when it's taking somebody's life, then that's a problem. His acknowledgement of the situation was that he feared for his life, like other cops, and whatever, he had to take his service pistol and kill said man. Nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about. This incident happened right here in my town of Elkton, Maryland. in 2016. That person I'm talking about is my late cousin, Terry Garnett Jr. It doesn't stop there. Another murder that happened in my county happened just what? It's just a town over in Northeast Maryland. A man and a woman is going inside of uh, the Northeast Walmart to buy some goods because they're leaving the county. They're leaving town. They're moving. They're getting out of this town. So, same situation. Maryland State Trooper, rookie cop, identifies the man. He has some warrants of what he says. He had some warrants. So then a tussle ensues. He gets on top of the man, pulls out a service pistol, and shoots the man point blank range in the head. I don't know this man's name. I don't know the officer's name, but I do know the officer is still working for the Maryland State Troopers. The cop that killed my cousin is still on the Cecil County Sheriff's Department. He's still a part of it. He's still working to this day. Okay, so after Botham John happens, down in Texas, it's a girl that's playing video games with her nephew. Pretty sure her nephew fell asleep during this time because her neighbor calls the police to do a wellness check on her neighbor. That's such a kind gesture. Just think if all neighbors was like this. I don't know what's going on over my neighbor's house, but I want you to go and do a wellness check because it's not like her to leave her door open this late at night. So police officer comes. Instead of the police officer knocking on the door, he goes to the back to start searching for God knows what. Tatiana then gets spooked and she grabs her legal firearm that she has to protect herself just in case there's a break-in her house or some fumbling going outside around her house. For protection. It's to protect your house. That's what a firearm's for. Tatiana Jefferson did not raise her weapon at the cop. The cop shot her through her bedroom window, and Tatiana dies. All right, so let's fast forward some more time. Young man at the age of 26 is running down his neighborhood street or within route of his home. So we hear that not only was he running, he ran into a house, but nothing was taken. The house was being remodeled, and the man that owned the house said that nothing was taken. So then, on said day of his death, he runs inside of the house again. He admires what's going on. He runs out of the house. Then he continues his run. He's then followed by two white men by the name of Stephen and I forgot the other man's name. But y'all saw me do a video on Ahmad, the man that died by the hands of two racist white motherfuckers with the person that also got charged that filmed all the shit from his truck. Ahmad Arbery was shot point blank range with a 12 gauge shotgun. Now, if you know anything about shotguns have their round isn't like every other gun. Their round busts inside of the gun, but with velocity and shoots out all these pellets, steel pellets or so. With those steel pellets, you're bound to hit damn near anything around you. But Ahmad Arbery was as close as I am to this damn microphone, and he got shot in his chest with a fucking 12 gauge shotgun. Y'all get where I'm going now? Alright, let's keep going. Since I'm blanking on names, I got oh, never mind. I got it. So a woman's at her house. I'm pretty sure it's Texas. No, Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville, Kentucky. She's at her house also, just like Tatiana Jefferson. The cops come in for a no-knock warrant, break down her door, and shoot Breonna Taylor. From what we know, those cops have been fired from their job. I'm pretty sure they're not doing any sort of time, but they weren't caught. Breonna Taylor took place a week after Ahmad Arbery. So, a week after that, everybody thinks that they're still in mourning for both Ahmad and Breonna. But for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, a man pleads and begs for Officer Chauvin to please get off of his neck because he can't breathe. He shouts this more than enough times for him to hear him. Officer Chauvin, or former Officer Cop Chauvin, and his flunkies hear this man pleading for his life. He cries for his mother. If you can see on the video that liquid is expelled from his body because he's scared to death and he doesn't know what's about to happen. After that 8 minute and 46-second time frame, he's pleading for his life. 2 minutes after that, you see George Floyd laying lifeless on the street of Minneapolis. Now, we didn't think nothing was going to happen because, this is the place where Prince comes from. Prince talked very highly about his city. This is the same place where the band The Time comes from. Morris Day. Morris Day. And Morris Day spoke of Minneapolis very highly too. From what happened, Minneapolis erupted, which would send a chain reaction to every single city in this goddamn country. Week after that, that chain reaction then goes overseas to London, to China, to Africa, South Africa, Japan. Nearly 18 different countries joined in with everybody else in the world within the United States, 18 other countries protested against their protested in unison with everybody for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmad Arbery, but also protesting because there's police brutality that happens in those said countries too. As you all know, China is a communist country. Talk against the government, you die, or you get thrown in jail. And their humane practices aren't like the United States, not at all. These said 18 countries overseas in Europe and Asia, their laws aren't like America's. So you would think, since the United States is still within its infancy of existing, and these said countries have been around for ages. We read about them in textbooks and such when we were going to school about the Ming dynasties and the Kingdom of Britain and stuff like that. We read about all of this stuff, but not one time have we ever heard that or seen within our lifetime all of the United States and 18 different countries protesting, rioting, and looting for police reform. Now you may say, well, Marcy, what the hell does the riots have to do and the looting have to do with the protesting and stuff? Well, 6 months before, or 4 months, maybe 5 months before COVID-19 happened, our president, Donald Trump, fired and let go the, what is that? What was that council called? Damn it, I'm blanking on that too. But there was a council in place to where if anything out of the ordinary happened with new diseases and natural disasters and stuff like that, that there would be some sort of aid in place to where not only will it be handled quickly, but maybe the American people may not even find out about it. But that was not true. People was talking about how maybe they felt even sicker than what they did last year, so feeling even more sicker the beginning of this year. But no one knew what the hell it was. COVID-19 happens. We're all placed on lockdown for 3 months. People lose their jobs. There is 40 million U.S. Citizens on unemployment right now. 40 million. You know the last time when this happened? The Great Depression. So are we living in the Great Depression too? Like, is this the Great Depression too? Like some would say back when Obama became president that we reached the Great Depression. But as far as I know, there's a lot of people still had jobs. There's a lot of people still working. But this lockdown basically shut down non-essential businesses, which we didn't know what the hell what was non-essential at that time. So bars closed, restaurants closed, and also gyms and certain extracurricular activities that me and you like to partake in, parks and stuff like that, and concerts were done. The only thing that could stay open was essential businesses such as certain clothing stores, certain restaurants found a way to make money, and grocery stores and gas stations and such like that. while this is happening, while all of this is happening, there are 40 million people being laid off from their jobs. And out of that, as the country is coming back to what it was, 3 killings week after week after week happened at the hands of what we protested for in the mid 2010s. We just started a new decade, and what we're seeing is the same result from what we saw in the mid 2010s. Well, the mid to the rest of the 2010s. Like I said, Dr. Umar Johnson said, after the war is won and done in the Middle East, then they will bring in their forces, and then black people will become their targets. You gotta remember, 2015, 2016, 2017, there were still operating forces in the Middle East. There still is. We set up camp there, just like when we take over every country that we go to war with. We always place a station within that country that we went to war with. South Korea, we have a camp there. Japan, we have a camp there. And that's just me naming two. Middle East, we have a camp there. Now, I haven't made a video since the Ahmad Arbery thing. It's because after Breonna Taylor died, the way that she did, because this shit has never, I have never heard or seen some shit like that happen. And that was a black woman that it happened to. I have been silent since that time. And then George Floyd happened. I literally silenced myself and took myself away from everything and everybody that I know. I have not went out to protest, and I have not went out to riot or loot. I go to work, then I come home. On the weekends, I don't do shit. I sit in the house and I try to read up and look at every single piece of documentation and any sort of documentary and any type of YouTube video that deals with these situations of how somebody can think about doing some shit like this. And then I sit back and I keep myself from going crazy. Because it's the same way how I felt after Mike Brown got shot. And I was 26 years old. Now, some people may say, well, Marcus, have you ever been through something like that before? No, I haven't. But I do remember getting pulled over the day after Mike Brown got shot. And I couldn't see these officers' eyes but I knew where their intention was going. When you walk up to somebody's car and your hand is on your motherfucking gun, but the person in the car has his windows down with his license and his registration ready for you to take, so you can run my license and my registration to let you know that the car that I'm now riding in has my name on it, and everything in this car is clean, and everything with the car is clean. But not only that, you're putting your fucking hands on your motherfucking guns while I got my girlfriend and her daughter in the backseat. So some people may say, "Well, Marcus, you did everything right." You damn right, I did everything right. But at what cost? Do we do everything right to still get slaughtered in the streets by racist fucking police? This is sad. This is sad. Like, I don't understand how this shit can happen. You know, the last time some shit like this happened to black folks, we were property. I take that back. The last time this shit happened like this, it was between the years of slavery ending up until when we got civil rights. This is the last time that shit has happened. As I'm sitting here saying all this stuff, I feel everything. I feel my whole body getting hot. I'm about, like, I don't know if y'all can tell, but I'm about to bust out in tears. I'm fighting this shit as much as I can. And for this to happen to a family member of yours, I don't know where the fuck this country's going. I don't. And with this fucking president we got, this shit is fucking sad, yo. But what can we do? We protest in the street as much as we can. They got paid operatives in these said protests. Start the shit off so people can start riding in the streets, burning and shit. But at what cost? Okay, yeah, we may fuck up couple of our neighborhoods, you know, around the country. But we've watched LA burn 3 times. Have we not? We watched Los Angeles burn 3 fucking times. And not once have the city of Los Angeles tried at any point in time to stop what the fuck they was doing. They kept going. Still to this day, Los Angeles still provoke and still do the same exact shit that they did back when they beat Rodney King. Now, I don't have a problem with people rioting in the streets. Because as we all know, Martin Luther King said, rioting is the voice of the people that was unheard. Malcolm X was always against this motherfucking country because he watched his mother struggle after 3 Klansmen beat his father and drug him off to where they said he killed himself on the railroad track. He he let a train run over. What we have to do as black people, and this may not be for all of y'all, we have to adopt Marcus Garvey's ideology. All of us. If y'all don't know who Marcus Garvey is, I'm not about to sit here and tell y'all about him because this video is going to be at least 10 hours long. Some people may say, well, Marcus Garvey never did everything that he portrayed to be. Well, he was trying to get the ears of every single black person in the world to go off what he wanted to do, go find some retribution for themselves so we can live a better life instead of the bullshit that's going on in this country that we see right now and all over the world. And then we have looters that happen, or looting that happens. America doesn't understand. 40 million people have been laid off from their jobs. There's probably been more unaccounted for the simple fact that some people work underneath the table and get their money like that. So you're basically telling people that have no means to take care of themselves, no means to buy groceries, no means to buy clothes and certain other things that they need to survive, to stop looting. Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense for the simple fact that I don't agree with all of Barack Obama's policies that he had, and when he was in office, I didn't agree with certain moves he made. But he did make sure that the country was protected in some way. Not saying that I'm all for Obama, but you know, me being the person that I am, I seek to look at shit and understand shit so either I can be a part of it or get the fuck away from it. All I can say is right now to end the video is that if there isn't going to be any type of police reform, any type of government reform, or any type of way that this country will get better to actually listen to its people. Because everybody, this is what y'all need to hear. The United States Constitution was made during the time of slavery, but within that, it states that it's for the people. It starts out with "we the people." Then they have some stuff in there about if some government shit. Governments feel as though that that they want to take over, that then the people will step in and then take power. Your governors, your senators, and the president and his cabinet are the minority of this country. Everyone else is the majority. So this is what we need. This is what we need to do. We need to take back that power. But you know what that takes, right? It takes a revolution to do that. I'm your host, Marcus, and you have listened to another episode of Marcus Speaks. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.